Well, and that's the next point I wanted to make, because I've watched you, build one of these systems, and like there's one on the Future Cannabis Project, and of course Shango, etc. But packing that sand in and watering it in, is a must do to have this work. And you want to actually literally pack it in so tight and fill it up with so much water that you literally have puddles on top to know that it's done properly.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely, you don't have to make puddles. You don't have to go that far. You'll know when you've got it right. But the key is just to get all of those jagged rocks, make sure there's no pockets between them, and that's why you water it and trowel it. Are you okay, Paul? Oh boy.
Got something in the back of her throat.
Yeah, I think so. I think he ate a piece of grass. Do you need to throw up? Well, at least he's not going to throw up in my lap. Anyway.
Well, that's probably a good thing live on the air,
It might be worth the laugh. Anyway. Anyway, yeah, that's the key is you got to make sure that there are no voids. There's no pockets down in there.
Okay, now we add biology. Are we, when we're soaking that down, should we be adding that biology at that layer? Because I know you recommend fish brew. Yeah, that's where we want to add that layer.
So what I recommend is spritz, right? You want it to look like a glazed donut. So you just mist it with a Johnson sprayer, Hudson sprayer, a little hand bottle sprayer. It doesn't matter. You just want to glaze it over. And I definitely recommend that if you're doing what we call lifts. So anything over 6 inches of soil is called a lift. So you want to spritz the E just because you can. But when you come to the A horizon, you want to spritz it once, and then potentially 2 or 3 times or 4 times on your O horizon. Because what I learned in building these soil profiles for high-end landscapers was that the best way to jumpstart them was to do it in lifts and then apply it. And typically, like on these giant commercial park renovations, that's what they do. They put 6 inches down, they bulldoze it in. They usually have low ground pressure tracks on the skid steers. But they do it in a 6-inch lift, and then they water it, and then they do another 6-inch lift and water it. So basically, they're again trying to create something that's not going to have air pockets or sink or settle on them after they install it. And ironically, this blew my mind. I was doing 266 Michigan Ave in New Canaan, and we were wrapping up the job. It was winter, or pushing late December, really getting into the heart of winter. And one of the guys, we were doing a really deep lift. We probably had 10 lifts on that one because it was an old parking lot where it was the only ground that was like the original compacted landfill. When they built this site, they just brought in trucks of fill from everywhere to build it up, right? But this was low compared to the rest of the landscape because the guy built a monster house. So he raised the soil up feet all the way around it. So this was like one of the original spots that we were using as a temporary parking lot because the cars didn't get stuck there. And now we were filling it in. So we did about 10 lifts, and this was the centerpiece. It was basically like all trees. They called them floating hedges around it in a square. And this was the center lawn where they were going to put, their boys' little soccer nets at each end. One of the guys, this was after terrific rains, decided to take the little excavator, which wasn't really little. It wasn't a tiny one. This was like call them small, but they're like 8 feet by 6 feet wide by 6 feet tall, and decided he was going to drive it right across the lawn. And I saw him out of the corner of my eyes, and I started to scream at him, and he sunk the front end in, and like an idiot, he friggin' ripped it back and sunk the back end in and kept doing this and buried the thing. I was like, oh my God. So I grabbed one of the other excavating teams that I had on the site. Actually, no, I had to call him. This was like on a Friday afternoon. I had to call him and say, dude, I need your help right now. Get out here.
Right.
He had a big machine on site. And I told him, I said, all right, from where we know that it's safe for you to pull this machine out, I need you to reach out. We got to chain this dumbass little idiot's machine and pick it up straight up. I don't want you plowing it through this whole lift.
Well, yeah, you don't want to be compacting it any worse.
Right. Or disturbing the whole area, right?
Yeah.
So we were able to get him up, get him out of there, and then I sent everybody home. We closed shop. And then I went back in, and I was all concerned that, because he sank it, he compacted the shit out of it. So now the soil had dried out, and we brought that. I jumped on that little excavator, and I went back in there, and I started digging around to see how bad it really was. And it actually wasn't too bad. I was surprised. So I just fluffed it up a little bit, and then went back to putting lifts on it, and then I just used the hoe or the bucket to pound it because I didn't want to drive over it. I didn't want to disturb the whole thing again. So we went and did this lifts up again, and then came springtime, and everything was growing great, and there was never a soft spot there. So
Cool.
That's how well the lifts work if they're installed properly.
And that's what we want to really do with the E-Horizon, but not the A-Horizon.
Yeah, you want to do it on the A as well, and that's here again why you want to spritz it down with the biology. And then, tamp it lightly. You don't want to jump up and down on it, but you want it solid. You want it, solid, hard, not rock hard, but stable. I should use the word stable.
Okay. And that's one of the reasons, you use a concrete trowel to get it nice and smooth before you build your next layer.
Yeah. And the O Horizon's easy. You just pour it in and you don't worry about it, right? Because it's all flat anyway.